Well, good Saturday afternoon. Meteorologist John Burchfield here. We are tracking a winter storm system that is going to bring us heavy snowfall to the region. Thanks for joining us here on YouTube and on WTOL 11 Plus. We're here live at 4 p.m. on Saturday. If you're watching after the fact, I'd love to get to those questions and comments. You can leave them behind on YouTube, and we'll answer as many of your questions as possible. I've got the YouTube stream pulled up right here on my computer, so I'm going to look over those questions. If you have any questions about how much snow to expect, when the snow is going to arrive, or perhaps just a forecast for your community or your town, I'd love to answer those as best as possible. And if you don't have it already, that free WTOL 11 weather app, such a good tool to have on a day like today. If you scan that QR code at the side of your screen, you can grab the free app, and it's a great way to check radar from the palm of your hand, as well as get exclusive video updates from meteorologist Davis Wells, myself, and the rest of the WTOL 11 weather team. So I want to cut to the chase and talk about snowfall amounts, because I know that is on many minds, wondering how much snow we're going to get. We are still expecting some widespread impressive totals in the ballpark of 7 to 10 inches. So what has the latest data shown us? Well, if anything, there's a little more moisture to wring out of this system. So that is going to yield some higher totals in the ballpark of 7 to 10 inches. And it is going to be an all-day Sunday snowfall. So you're going to wake up and it's going to be snowing, and that snow is not going to be wrapping up until later on in the evening. I've got some of the YouTube comments up here. If you have any questions or comments about the weather, would love to get to those on our live stream here. And we do have an additional live stream coming up around 6:30 p.m. and then subsequently tomorrow morning with meteorologist Davis Wells as well. So we'd love to answer as many of those questions as possible about the weather. And of course, you can catch us on air at 6 and 11 on WTOL 11. So we do have some new information about winter storm warnings. Those have been expanded. Now it includes Lucas County and the Toledo Metro. It includes Monroe County, as well as Fulton, Henry, Defiance, and Williams County. So that's a new addition. And the one thing you'll notice is that all of Northwest Ohio is bright pink under that winter storm warning. It's only Hillsdale and Lenawee counties that do not have an active warning, and there's a winter weather advisory at play for those two counties. There's still going to be a decent snowfall up towards Hillsdale and Adrian. It's just not going to be quite as much as what Northwest Ohio is expecting with that winter storm warning and widespread heavy snowfall amounts. Now, one of the other cool things about the weather app is you can get these weather alerts like winter storm warnings sent straight to your phone or your tablet. So again, scan that code at the side of your screen and you can get the free WTOL 11 weather app. One of the most amazing things about this storm is just how widespread it is. It's been years since we had a good coast-to-coast winter storm system. There's winter storm warnings right now for New York and Massachusetts up towards Maine, and they go all the way back to New Mexico. So approximately 2,500 miles worth of these winter storm warnings. This really gives you an idea of the scale of this storm system. And if you look all the way down towards Houston and Dallas, Texas, the winter storm impacts will be affecting them as well. So where is this storm system right now? Well, it is an area of low pressure near the Gulf. There's a lot of moisture down there, a lot of warmer air, relatively speaking, and we have a cold Canadian high to the north. So all that moisture going to get pulled up to the north, and it's going to clash with that cold Canadian air. And you can see that stripe of snow from New Mexico and the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles all the way up into the Ohio River Valley. Now, here at home, radar is still fairly quiet, but we are expecting that snow to really begin in earnest after midnight tonight. So if you have Saturday evening plans, I do expect dry conditions. Snow is starting to move into central Illinois and central Indiana, but we should stay dry until close to or after midnight. Now, the temperature is another big part of the weather story. We're in the single digits as far as those temps are concerned, and not as much of a wind today, but still an awfully cold feel with those single digit temperatures that are being reported outside. So let's talk about the hour by hour timeline. When is this snow going to arrive, and when is the worst of it going to be here? So it's really not until after midnight. You'll notice 12:30 a.m. we do start to see some light to moderate snow that'll be moving in south of Toledo. The snow starts to ramp up by daybreak Sunday morning. Check it out, by 8 to 9 a.m. steady snow across the board. And you may be wondering, well, how much snow am I going to wake up to? The bulk of the snow is going to fall after daybreak, so you're not going to wake up to a ton of snow, but there could still be 1 to 2 inches of fresh snow on the ground for Toledo and up to 3 to 4 inches of fresh snow down to the south, closer to Findlay. All right, let's talk about the snowfall totals and what we are expecting. Keep in mind, the majority of this snow is going to be falling during the daytime on Sunday. Now, the latest data has trended up slightly in snowfall totals, and we are looking at a 7 to 10 inch snowstorm. The last time we got that much snow was February 2nd through February 3rd of 2022. That was an impressive storm because it dosed out a little over 4 inches on February 2nd and a little over 8 inches on February 3rd. So we got slightly over a foot of snow. Now, some folks do have the chance to pick up close to that much. 8 to 12 inches are a sweet spot for this storm. Those highest totals are going to be well south and east of the Maumee River, and that could include areas like Sandusky and Norwalk, down towards Tiffin, Upper Sandusky, Bucyrus, and Findlay. So it is those locations far south and east of the Maumee River that have the best chance to pick up those really impressive snowfall totals. As far as the Toledo Metro goes, we are still looking at a solid 7 to 10 inches, and that goes from Ottawa County back towards Lucas and Wood in the vicinity of Henry County and back over towards the Indiana-Ohio state line. 7 to 10 inches of accumulation, and that is going to cause some serious and some significant travel delays. Now, further northwest, where you see that winter weather advisory, Hillsdale and Lenawee counties likely to see 5 to 8 inches. Still an impressive amount of snow that is going to require the shovel and possibly even the snow blower, but not quite as much snow as those heavier totals from the state line back towards Bowling Green and those even more impressive snowfall amounts of 8 to 12 inches a little bit further to the south and southeast. So we are going to be talking about these snowfall totals a little bit more, but I do want to jump into a few other graphics as well. One computer model in particular pinpointing snowfall amounts. So this model, by the time you wake up Sunday morning, shows about 2 inches for Toledo, about 3 or so for Findlay, 3 to 3.5 for Tiffin, about 3 inches for Napoleon. Now, when you wake up tomorrow morning, there is going to be some fresh snow on the ground, but it's not going to be that total amount of snow. Now, by the evening, check it out. 7 inches for the Toledo Metro, could be close to 9 inches for Bowling Green. Again, this is just one computer model run, but it's in very close alignment with that snowfall map I just showed you from the WTOL 11 weather team. The best chance to see those localized 10 to 12 inch amounts is going to be well south and east of the Maumee River, locations like Norwalk, Tiffin, Fostoria, Fremont, Findlay, as well as Upper Sandusky and Bucyrus, with those higher totals expected. And it is going to be a pretty sharp cutoff, let's say right along the Maumee River and northwest of Toledo, where amounts are likely to be closer to half a foot for southern Michigan and even into portions of Williams and Fulton counties. And for the Toledo Metro, there is likely to be more snow for those southern suburbs like Perrysburg and a little bit less northwest in, say, Sylvania. There's going to be some significant impacts with this winter storm system. Heavy snow is expected to be likely all day Sunday. Poor travel, so I'd recommend staying home if possible. And even into Monday, there's still going to be some slow travel conditions expected. All the snow is going to be falling on Sunday. However, we expect that even into Monday, there is likely to be snow-covered roadways and some significant travel delays. So keep that in mind. An impact level 4 out of 5 due to this winter storm system that is expected. So the travel forecast for the rest of the day today, I do expect dry conditions to late evening. At the very earliest, the soonest we are going to get any sort of snowfall is around midnight, but the snow is not going to start accumulating until closer to daybreak on Sunday. A red light for travel on Sunday. There is going to be an all-day heavy snow that is expected for Sunday and even into Monday. I would recommend using caution. Snowy road conditions are going to be expected, and for some of those kids that did have off school on Friday, this could be a very long weekend with delays and closings that'll be likely on Monday. Snowy road conditions, even though the snow is going to be long gone by that point, there are still expected to be some travel impacts. So if you have any questions, you can leave those behind on YouTube. I'd love to get to your questions as well. I have the YouTube live stream pulled up right here, but I do have a few questions that I've gotten frequently that I do want to answer. We'll call it a little Q&A, and I'll have a little bit more coming up in our next live stream. That'll be around 6:30 p.m. And tomorrow morning, you can tune in with meteorologist Davis Wells, both on air on WTOL 11 and also streaming on YouTube and WTOL 11 Plus, wherever you're streaming us from right now. Good to have you here. We're talking about those travel conditions as well as the snowfall amounts. So I do have a few questions that I do want to get to. These are questions that we've gotten a lot on social media and on YouTube. So one question, will it be safe for kids to play in the snow in the cold? You may be wondering, with this Arctic blast that we've gotten lately, is it going to be safe to go to your favorite sledding hill, maybe go snowboarding, or even have a snowball fight tomorrow? So the answer is yes, but I'd recommend taking frequent indoor breaks. Wind chills, they are still expected to be around 0. So it's going to be a cold day. It's not going to be quite as bitterly cold as today, but we're still expecting temperatures in the teens and wind chills near 0. So frostbite could certainly occur in about 45 to 60 minutes, but it's not going to be as big of an issue. So will it be safe for kids to play in the snow and in this cold? Yes, it is, but please take frequent indoor breaks. Make sure any exposed skin is covered up. So face coverings, hat, gloves, you name it. Just be safe, use caution, maybe consider just sledding for 20 or 30 minutes and then warming up with some hot cocoa inside. So I wouldn't recommend being outside for a prolonged period, especially due to how cold it is. Just take frequent indoor breaks and minimize outdoor time tomorrow. Another question that we've gotten frequently, will we see power outages? Understandably, that's a big concern when you get a winter storm. Now, folks to the south, say back towards Oklahoma and Arkansas, they are expecting a big potent ice storm. And ice is one of the biggest culprits for power outages. Now, we are not expecting any ice or wintry mix whatsoever. This is going to be a 100% snowfall event. So we're not expecting any ice. Now, the other contributor to power outages is the weight or the density of the snow. This is going to be a fine powdery snow, that pixie dust type snow. It's not going to be a heavy wet snow. So it's not going to put as much pressure on those power lines, and that's a favorable thing. In other words, powdery snow not as likely to cause outages as heavy wet snow. Now, there is going to be a little bit of a wind. There is the chance for gusts up to about 25 miles an hour, both Sunday and Monday as well. But I wouldn't say that the winds alone are going to be powerful enough to cause any power outages. Of course, there could be a little bit of blowing and drifting with that wind, and that leads us to our next question. Will there be blowing and drifting? And in rural areas, the answer is yes. It's not going to take a whole lot of wind to blow around this wind from side to side, and gusts are going to be possible at around 25 miles an hour, not only Sunday, but also into Monday as well. And winds are actually going to be shifting to the west. So today we had an easterly wind direction, but winds are going to be shifting to the west behind this storm. So if you're wondering about how exactly that wind direction is going to impact the blowing and drifting, if the wind is coming in from the west, it's actually the roads that are perpendicular to the wind direction that are more likely to have snow on them. So due to that westerly wind, I would say those north to south roads are more likely to have snow drifts on them. And out in the country, there is the chance that we get isolated snow drifts between about 1 foot to even up to 2 feet. So it's certainly something of concern, especially due to how powdery this is. So will there be blowing and drifting in rural areas? Yes. Perhaps even in the Toledo metro, it's just not going to be quite as pronounced in some of those more urban areas. So if you're just joining us on YouTube and WTOL 11 Plus, good to have you here. We're streaming this at 4 o'clock p.m. on Saturday, and we do have additional live streams coming up this weekend at 6:30 p.m. and then tomorrow morning with meteorologist Davis Wells. And in 24 hours tomorrow afternoon, we're also going to be live at 4. If you haven't already downloaded that WTOL 11 weather app, you can download it right there with the QR code at the side of your screen as we track heavy snow this weekend. I'm checking out some of the YouTube comments. If you have any comments or questions about the weather, would love to get to as many of those as possible. But even if you're watching this after the fact and after our stream is done, feel free to leave those comments, and we'd love to answer as many of them as possible. And of course, we'll have the latest forecast coming up at 6 p.m. on WTOL 11. So I kind of want to get back to the very beginning about the update we have as far as winter storm warnings are concerned. So this is actually new information from the National Weather Service. The winter storm warning has been extended, so it now does include Lucas County. It also includes other portions of far northwest Ohio that were not originally included. So every single one of our Ohio counties is under a winter storm warning, as is Monroe County. The only two counties that are not under a warning are Hillsdale and Lenawee, and they still have a winter weather advisory. Essentially, the difference is winter storm warning is a little bit of a higher degree of magnitude. There's going to be more snow if you live in one of those pink counties. If you live up towards Lenawee and Hillsdale County, this is still going to be a significant winter storm, just not quite as much so as for northwest Ohio. And much of the country is going to be feeling the impacts. Earlier, I talked a little bit about ice and how some of those winter weather impacts are going to be expected. Folks down towards Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, they are going to be right on that fine line between a heavy wet snow and an icing, and oftentimes the ice can actually be more nasty to drive in than the snow. Of course, conditions here are going to be pretty poor over the next 24 to 36 hours, but we are mostly going to be in the line of that snow, and these winter storm warnings extend from New Mexico all the way up towards New England. So this is truly a coast-to-coast storm system. That low is currently down towards the Gulf. It's producing rain in parts of southern Mississippi and Louisiana, and it's producing that wintry mix across Tennessee, that purple color, as well as a wintry mix in Texas. So kind of a messy situation, but we are definitely going to end up on the cold side of things with just snow that'll be expected. So if you have a question about when this snow is going to start, it is not going to be until after midnight for most areas. There is the chance that we do start to see a few flakes by about 10 to 11 p.m., but those are going to be well to the south of the Toledo metro, and we're already starting to see some heavier snow move into southern Indiana and Illinois, as well as Tennessee and Kentucky. Maybe a few flakes into central Indiana, but nothing quite yet here at home. In the short term, the big story is just the cold. It is going to be dry for those Saturday evening plans, but plain old cold with single-digit temperatures that are going to be expected. So I do want to go through the hour by hour one more time as you plan out the rest of your weekend. After midnight, we are expecting some light to moderate snow to start to develop. It's initially going to be south of Toledo, but then by daybreak Sunday, it is going to be widespread, hitting every single one of our counties. Those darker blue colors that you see south of Toledo from Findlay up towards Norwalk, those are going to be the highest snowfall rates, where there is the chance that we get up to 1 inch per hour in some of those southeastern locations. Throughout the day on Sunday, it is going to be snowing heavily into the afternoon. We've got 2:30 p.m. on the clock. That snow is going to be coming down persistently throughout the entire afternoon. So when's the snow going to be winding down? It's not going to be until after sunset. By about 7 p.m., we see the last of those snowflakes moving off east of Toledo, and then by about 9 to 11, the snow is going to be done. Now, even though the snow is going to be ending during the evening, the travel impacts continue to be felt as we head into the day on Monday. So let's talk snowfall totals again. And once again, if you're tuning in on WTOL 11 Plus on YouTube or any other platform, you can leave your questions and comments down below, and we'll get to as many of those as possible. Good to have you here on this Saturday afternoon. In case you missed it earlier, the snowfall map. Now, meteorologist Davis Wells, of course, had some updates this morning on the new computer model data that had trended just slightly up in terms of snowfall amounts. Overall, the forecast consensus of higher total southeast, that remains unchanged. It's just the snowfall totals that have ramped up ever so slightly. We are still expecting a solid 7 to 10 inches for the Toledo metro, and that'll be our biggest snowstorm since early February of 2022. It's been almost 4 years since we got a storm of this caliber. The best chance to see those higher totals in the ballpark of 8 to 12 inches. That is going to be south and east of Toledo, including areas like Findlay, Tiffin, Fostoria. Even Fremont could be on that fine line. Sandusky, as well as Norwalk, and then down towards Bucyrus and Upper Sandusky. That light pink color, that is where the heaviest snowfall rates are expected. Also, the most hours of snow south and east of the Maumee River. So the 7 to 10, that includes all of the Toledo metro. But keep in mind, those southern suburbs have the best chance to pick up the higher totals, and northern suburbs not likely quite as much. So I would expect a little more snow for Maumee and Perrysburg, and perhaps a little less for Berkey, Metamora, and Sylvania. The 7 to 10 includes Fremont, Bowling Green, Ottawa, Napoleon, Defiance, Bryan, Paulding County, and Van Wert as well. And amounts to the north and northwest, still going to be a potent winter storm, just not quite as much. Remember, Hillsdale and Lenawee, those are the only counties that are not under a winter storm warning. Rather, a winter weather advisory has been issued. There's still going to be a good amount of snow there. So even if you are not in the winter storm warning, don't think that this storm is going to miss you or not impact you. 5 to 8, that is still going to be a substantial amount of snow, and it is likely to cause some significant travel delays Sunday and into Monday. It is going to be a pretty sharp cutoff, though. Areas across northwest Ohio seeing the highest snowfall totals, and further south and southeast, that is where the most impressive snowfall amounts are expected, between about 8 to 12 inches, and that includes areas like Norwalk, Huron, Sandusky, Tiffin, and even Findlay, where some of those higher totals are going to be expected. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this live stream. We are going to do another one coming up at 6:30 p.m. with some of the latest data. Of course, we're going to be on air as well on WTOL 11 News at 6 p.m. And then tomorrow morning, you can catch meteorologist Davis Wells with some of the latest forecast information. If you don't already have the weather app, scan that QR code at the side of your screen. It's a great way to check radar during a very active winter weather pattern and keep an eye on where this storm is currently. And of course, we'll continue to answer any of those comments on YouTube, and you can tune in at 6:30, streaming on YouTube and on WTOL 11 Plus, as well as on air at 6 and 11. So we'll love to see you then. We'll be talking about snowfall amounts and timing, and we're going to be breaking down the latest data as well. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend and stay safe as this winter storm approaches.